wait, we'll let the public trickle in, and I'll let you know when to.
Thank you.
I'd say you put it again.
Okay. Calling the meeting of the State Department of Board of Agriculture to order. This morning, the chair, Sharon Hurd, has asked me to convene the meeting in her absence and entertain a motion to elect a chair pro tem to serve for this meeting only. We'll first do a roll call and then I'll entertain nominations. When I call your name, say present and tell me whether you're alone or have someone with you over the age of 18. Russell Suji. Excused. Diane Lay.
Present and alone.
Vince Mina.
President alone.
Fred Cowell.
Present and alone.
Randy Cabral. Excused. Ann Young.
Present and alone.
James Gomes.
Present and alone.
Thank you, members. And so at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Yes, oh, my apologies.
And I am present and alone.
My apologies, Kīnānā. Okay, so this time I'll entertain a motion from a member.
Mary Alice.
Russell
Here.
just chimed in.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, Russell, are you present and alone?
Yes, I'm present and alone.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this time, I will entertain a motion from a member to nominate a member to serve as chair pro tem for this meeting.
I nominate Mary Alice.
Okay, are there,
Second, Jimmy Wolf.
thank you. Are there other nominations? If not, the nominations are closed. The call for the vote. Are there any objections? Hearing none, I accept your decision to serve for this meeting. We'll go ahead with the approval of the minutes for the June 27th, 2023 meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions that you want to call to our attention to amend the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are.
Chair, I do have some amendments on page 5, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Russell.
The first full paragraph, I believe it's the third to the last sentence down, starting down. It says DLNR did transfer acreage. I wanted to clarify that we transferred 20,000 acres to Department of Ag and 20,000, an additional 20,000 to ADC.
Okay,
And I think in the second to the last sentence, I wanted to read as follows. There are other lands for ag operations. Campbell lands are industrial lands to support the slaughterhouse and water needs and are not for general agricultural purposes. Those lands had a reservation for renewable energy projects. That's all. Thank you.
thank you, Russell. So this is what you're clarifying are statements that you made during the meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other changes, additions, or omissions? Hearing none, are there any objections to accepting the minutes as amended?
Get a motion to accept.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved. as amended.
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are accepted as amended. Members will move on to I'll have Stephen share the protocol for this hybrid board meeting, sunshine board meeting.
Good morning, everyone. As an attendee, your microphone will be automatically muted during the meeting unless you are providing testimony. Yes. For each agenda item you wish to testify on, please click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. Board staff will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking in order to prevent audio feedback. When testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If you are joining us via phone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering pound and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering pound and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing pound and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter pound and then 6 again to mute yourself. In the event that connectivity is lost and attempts to repair the connection exceed 30 minutes, the meeting may be terminated or continued to another date and time. Consult the webpage for updated information. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We will move on to agenda item number 4, communications from divisions and administration, the Agricultural Resource Management Division. So we'll have a presentation from staff. Welcome, Linda. Followed by questions and comments from the general public and questions and comments from the members. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, board members. My name is Linda Marai. I'm a property manager with the Agricultural Resource Management Division. My request this morning is for a conversion of general lease number 3753. The lessee is SGVG Corporation. The parcel is in Waimanalo on the island of Oahu. Some background. In 1963, general lease number 3753 was awarded by public auction by the Board of Land and Natural Resources to Sidney Booth. In 1980, the BLNR consented to the assignment of lease to SGVG Corporation. And then in 1982, the BLNR extended the term of the lease to and including December 23rd, 2008. Governor's executive order transferred the lease from DLNR to DOA for management purposes. In 2012, the Board of Ag extended the term of the lease to December 1st, 2028. SGVG produces a variety of ornamental potted plants, in-ground trees and palms, ground cover, etc. They provide these products for use by the company's landscape and maintenance division's commercial projects, as well as for sale to other landscape contractors on a smaller scale. SGVG is in good standing and in compliance with the lease, and the premises is fully developed. There is one worker housing unit on the premises in good condition. However, painting and minor repairs or renovations are planned for the dwelling. The lessee has requested a conversion of said lease in accordance with section 4-158-8 Hawaii Administrative Rules to a new lease of 35 years for the initial term. An appraisal actually has been ordered for the purpose of determining the fair market rental for the first 15 years of the new lease. The new appraised annual rental for the new lease shall be set for 15 years of the term of the lease versus 1.5% of gross sales. Further, the board and lessee mutually agree to cancel the existing general lease 3753 by executing a mutual cancellation of general lease number 3753. Our recommendation is that the Board of Agriculture approve the lessee's request to convert general lease number 3753 to a new non-agricultural parklands lease of 35 years for the initial term. And that's the first recommendation. And the second recommendation is to approve the mutual cancellation of general lease number 3753. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Members of the public, are there any comments or questions for this presentation?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, members of the board, any comments or questions regarding this action item?
Move to approve B1.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, members, are there any objections to approving the staff recommendation on B1? Hearing none, the item is approved. We'll move on to the next action item from the Agricultural Resource Management Division. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair,
Morning.
members of the board, Roy Hasegawa, Agriculture Resource Management Division. And I'll be presenting a request to terminate general lease number S1004, Bernardino Kagawan Jr. And this is Waianae Agriculture Park Lot 4 in Waianae, Island of Oahu. The subject lease was awarded to Mr. Kagawan in 1994. The lessee cultivated soursop trees, power brush fires, and the lessee's health condition contributed to situations prohibiting development of the property. The lessee currently is in default for not conducting any farming activity. Letters demanding remedy of the violation have been sent. All efforts to work with the lessee to remedy the violation has been exhausted. The lessee has failed to remedy the violation of the lease within the given times allowed to correct the violation. Staff recommends that the board approve the cancellation of general lease number S1004 pursuant to sections 41533B3 Hawaii Administrative Rules, and authorize issuance of lease cancellation documents. And third, authorize staff to prepare the subject parcel for disposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Is a representative of Mr. Bernardino Kagawan available? And does he want to comment?
Jimmy raised his hand. Any other members of the public?
Are there any other members of the public who have comments on this action item?
There are no hands raised from the public.
Okay, then member Gomes, we'll start with you, followed by member Lay.
I have two questions. What is the amount of the default? And how long has this applicant or leasee been in default?
There's no amount. The lease is current, and non-development notices have been issued since July 2022.
Prior to that, he was farming then.
Prior to that, there was a brush fire in 2018, so time was given to clear and start again, but it never panned out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Member Lay, did you still want to comment?
No, that answered my question. Thank you.
Member Mina, go ahead.
Hey, Roy, looking at the pictures, thank you for the colored pictures, by the way. Does this property have water?
Water? Yes, county water.
County water? And what's the size of the line for it? 7 acres?
Yes, 7 acres.
Yeah, but the size of the water line, the meter, what size is the meter?
Oh, the meter is 2 inches, 2 inch.
And he had soursop trees. Did he lose all those trees during the brush fire?
Yes, and some had fruit.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to me. I mean, $3,000 a year for 7 acres. It's got infrastructure there. I don't see how anybody could make $3,000 a year just on soursop unless the whole 7 acres is full of soursop. Is there farm plans needed when people get these leases? Do they have a farm plan that makes sense as far as actually being able to cultivate the land and have it to where we don't have to go through this?
Yes, during the application process, business plans are submitted.
Okay. And if the business plan, when it was submitted, was just submitted for soursop production?
Primarily, yes.
You know, without a bread and butter crop of just, it seems like they're set up to fail or be very, very much challenged. And so I was just wondering what the protocol is around all that. And then plus, if they make $3,000, they got to pay 1.5% gross, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this, you said it goes into disposition. What does that mean? It goes into a pool for other people to apply for now?
We'll put it in public notice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Any other members with comments or questions for Roy? Seeing none, and there weren't any questions from the members. Is there a motion to accept or to adopt the staff recommendation on this matter?
I'll move.
Thank you, Vince. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, any objections, members? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Roy. The next item on our agenda, C1, is being deferred to the next meeting. And we're going to go into public testimony. Oh, public testimony? If they answer deferred. Okay, is there public testimony on agenda item C, Plant Industry Division, Plant Quarantine Division, item number 1, request to review the petition from Tiffany Leilani Nerveza Clark to initiate administrative rulemaking and rule amendment to chapter 4-71 Hawaii administrative rules to change the list placement of the hybrid Savannah cat crosses of the servile and with a domestic cat from the list of prohibited animals to enable individual procession. Are there any comments from the public on this item?
There is one hand raised. I'd like to call forward Lori Buchanan. Please state your name and organization.
Aloha, honorable board members. My name is Laurie Buchanan, testifying today as a community advocate from the island of Molokai. Aloha, so nice to see all of you. Some of you I know, so nice to see you guys. I did want to provide testimony today on this agenda item in strong opposition to the request for rule amendment, I guess to have the importation. And also to ask the applicant to withdraw their request of the board. I stand on the testimony already submitted to you in writing by various departments and also by PQ. And I know that best laid requests sometimes for whatever reason, and I've seen it through the years, really have dire consequences. Should any of the placements that are made to restrain such prohibited animals have gone awry. We've seen this personally on the island of Molokai with the importation many years ago by permit for wildlife zoo animals. And today, not only are we being overrun by axis deer, but by permit, we also have huge naturalized populations of black buck. That was by permit. And so, you know, I could go on, but I just want to rely on all of your expertise, and I stand in strong opposition of this agenda item. Thank you for letting me testify. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you for attending this meeting. The matter is being deferred to a later meeting, so we won't be taking a vote on the petition at this time. Members, I want to take one item out of order now, and that's under old business. That's the update on raising pigs or chickens on agricultural leased lands. Is there a presentation from staff?
Oh, yes.
Okay, Linda, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and board members. Again, Linda Marai, Property Manager with the Agricultural Resource Management Division. This topic had come up at the May 22nd, 2022 board meeting under new business, and it was titled Allowable Agricultural Activities on Agricultural Resource Management Division Lands. So the following restrictions and considerations are applicable, what I'm going to talk about, only to Department of Ag lands or land leases and permits, but not necessarily to fee simple private landowners.
So Linda, just to
Yes.
clarify, what you're going to say applies to both ag park and non-ag park?
Correct.
HDOA,
Right.
lessees.
Right, lessees or permittees,
Or permits.
any lands that the Department of Agriculture manages. Thank you for that clarification, Mariana. So the current status of available vacant land with the Department of Ag, there is high demand for Department of Ag agricultural lands due to reasonable rents offered by the state. Nearly 100% of our ag lands are encumbered by long-term leases. Pursuant to Chapter 166E, Hawaii Revised Statutes, the department has been working with DLNR to transfer additional agricultural lands for lease to qualified farmers and particularly to local small farmers to the Department of Agriculture. Now, the definition, according to our rules and statute of agricultural activities means the care and production of livestock products, poultry or poultry products, or apiary, horticulture or floricultural products, or the planting, cultivating, and harvesting of crops or trees. And this is according to Hawaii Revised Statutes 166 for agricultural parks and 166E for non-agricultural parks. Currently, the department does not have leases for poultry or hog production. The prohibition of poultry and swine is the language that's used in our leases, is not a law. Rather, it's based on policy and language in our lease agreements. It stems from previous concerns regarding noise and odor being a nuisance to the surrounding residential areas, as well as the potential increased risk of disease transmission. The department leases character of uses are historically established agricultural practices, such as diversified agriculture, which is the production of food products, aquaculture, nursery, and pasture. These uses balance support for the agricultural industry with known community concerns. Should I turn that on? That's my wish. Okay. The department has received calls from the public regarding odors and noise coming from chicken and hog operations. The public assumes the department has the authority to act on complaints regarding chickens and hog operations because these operations are considered agricultural. Now, following are some considerations for allowing poultry on state lease lands. First would be the location. The land location would have to be remote relative to residential areas. Second, engagement with neighborhood boards and other community groups for approval of poultry or hog operations. And three, Department of Health rules. The Department of Health Clean Water Branch follows the code of federal regulations for animal feeding operations. And it concentrates on animal feeding operations that discharge waste into state waters. When the Department of Health receives a complaint from agricultural farm pollution into state waters, they send officers to investigate pollution complaints. These types of operations should be located away from streams, drainage ways, and aquifers. So the Department of Health Clean Water Branch is a reactive branch. They react to complaints. Department of Health Waste Management Division will review waste management plans for what they call animal feeding operations via NRCS. The animal feeding operations would need to have an approval process prior to the construction and operation of a facility. The department recognizes the need for sustainable agriculture, which includes poultry and hogs. Consideration for the possibility of the production of chicken and hog cultivation on state leased properties would be on a case-by-case basis. New techniques for raising these animals could minimize the impacts to the immediate surrounding community and may be considered with input from local neighborhood boards and/or community groups. Location is a factor, meaning that if the land is located in a remote area away from residential communities and water sources. If appropriate lands for these uses were identified by the department, a public notice to lease the land would be issued and would state in the public notice the inclusion of these specific uses for poultry or hogs. In moving forward, we hope to have constructive communications and conversations on how to balance these types of operations with farmers, agricultural experts, and communities that will be impacted directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Members of the public, are there comments on this informational presentation by the Department of Agriculture staff?
I see no hands raised from the public.
No hands raised. Members, Dean Anya, go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a quick question on the process. So just to clarify, the department first will evaluate any land that would be available for these practices, and then make the public notice, and then people can apply, or people would apply first and the department would look for suitable land?
You had it right the first process. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there other comments or questions from members of the board on this? This is an informational presentation, not an action item. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware it's not an action item, but we're kind of dancing around this, right? I mean, eventually it comes down to right to farm issues, right? As far as the use of agricultural land. So, I know there's a lot of moving parts. And I'm pretty sure in our leases, we say we have to comply with all applicable laws, which includes DOH and, EPA and all the other kind of applicable regulations and stuff. So I'm wondering, you know, at the department, if for us, what I don't want to happen for the department or for us as the board is that we allow people, you know, to put in applications for hog farms or chicken farms, and then, you know, we end up dealing with these issues after. You know, obviously there are buffers and that kind of thing that need to be put in, but you know, we really don't want these issues to kind of come back and haunt us. I mean, you know, what can we do as a board? What can we do as a department to kind of clarify that, you know, we're approving these things, and you know, I don't want to say there's nothing you can do about it, but you know, this is just what farming is. You know, it comes with smells and noises and dust or trash, or you know, those kinds of things. You know, what position can we put ourselves in that we're not
Thank you, Ann. And we'll hold that thought. Vince, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can appreciate what Ann's speaking of. One of the things that concerns me is that, you know, animal production has gotten a bad name with CAFOs and the dealing with waste, animal waste. I think if we were to put in an educational process with people who are applying, you know, I know Mike DuPont is through the University of Hawaii when he was there, did a lot of work in putting in Korean natural farming sites for pig production, chicken production. And, you know, there's a man here on Maui, Honolulu Koliato, on Bobby Paʻia's farm, he's got 500 hogs underneath one facility, and there's no smell and no flies. And so, you know, it's a thing where we had visited David Wong's farm, for instance, in Waianae, and I had some people from the mainland there who were hog farmers, and they said, we can never get this close to our hogs. You know, the smell's so bad. So there are processes, like Linda was saying, there's new techniques out there. If the Department of Ag could take a posture of education in the front end, maybe what Ann's concern talking about here could be addressed, so we're not dealing with down the road you know, kind of issues that occur. And then maybe in the beginning, when people start to complain, we find out whether or not they eat, you know, so that could be a determination of
Thank you, Vince. If there are no other oh, Kīnānā, your hand's still up. Are you?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on what Vince said. I think this is a great idea to provide education to the prospective farmers that wanted to farm with specific entities. But I also think that if we go ahead and move with it, I think that it would be useful to also have educational program right from front to the public, so they actually know what's going on, are prepared, and we're not surprising them, so we don't have a big opposition to it, but rather educate them ahead of time and explain, you know, what processes the specific farmer will be using to avoid, for let's say, smell and so on. So just a suggestion.
Thank you, Dean. Are there any other comments at this time? If not, members, will go to our next agenda item, which is a request to consult the board's attorney regarding a petition for a declaratory ruling regarding Hawaii Revised Statute Section 147-75. Setting grade standards, Part 5, chicken eggs, notice of grade and size, and the related administrative rules, and 2, for delegation of authority to the chairperson to respond to the petition. Note that in executive session, pursuant to HRS Section 92-54, to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Do I have such a motion? Moved by Member Lay. Is there a second? Thank you. Members, any objections? Hearing none,
There's a presentation, you can do it afterwards, I suppose, but there's a presentation and public testimony. Also,
would you do that?
No, you didn't do any public testimony.
Oh, no.
No, you just find the matter and start the testimony.
Oh, okay. Is there, before we take a vote on this motion to go into executive session to consult with the board's attorney, is there any public comment on this motion?
Here. In person.
Yes, sir. Come forward, please. Introduce yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joseph Ryan. I'm an attorney. I'm here representing a client, Ms. Kelly Tomioka. And I have reviewed the staff submittal. And what I noticed in this that I feel is missing from the staff submittal is a suggested recommendation of what the board's action should be. I noticed that when Ms. Marai testified, there was a recommendation to what the board should do. And I want to make a similar recommendation before you go into executive session.
Please proceed.
I wish that the board would declare under the authority granted by the board by HRS 147-74 and Chapter 91 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes pursuant to administrative rules, that pursuant to HRS 14775, which is the notice and grading of eggs, that the sale of eggs of a person's own production, which are sold from the place of production by contract formed over the internet and are not subject to enforcement by the department for alleged violations of HRS 14776, which is the advertising statute, or 14777, or regulation by the administrative rules 4-46. That includes rules 1 through 13. That's my recommendation. Thank you for your time. I have lots more to say, but I'll wait for you to get out of executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Would you be willing to share your language with the board secretary so that we can ensure that we get it exactly as you have stated?
Or you're very welcome to make changes, but yes, I will share with the board secretary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Ryan? Seeing Mr. Ryan, I don't see any hands raised.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, are you ready to proceed to the vote on going into executive session? All right, are there any objections to the motion to go into executive session to consult the board's attorney? I don't see any objections, so the motion is approved. We're going to, I'm going to ask our staff to stay and of course, our attorney. And Mr. Ryan, would you be willing to wait outside while we do this?
Absolutely. And off the record, when they was direct to this now or no, I'll be here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I'll be back. Thank you.
Linda, would you stay?
Oh, sure.
No, thank you. For now, we can stay.
Chair, do we have to get on the other site?
Yes, I would leave this Zoom meeting and then join the team's executive session.
Okay.
So for clarification, we're gonna close down the Zoom on our computer, is that right?
Yes, I
Yes.
think that makes it easier.
Yeah, otherwise you end up.
Where do we go?
I think Jason sent something this morning, a link
Okay,
for the executive section.
I will look for it. Thank you.
I was hoping that I could be, like I wasn't going to be a part of Let's start the video. Oh. Okay.
Members and guests, we're waiting for a couple of our members to rejoin the meeting before we reconvene after this short reset. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Okay, we're all live again. Are you still sharing? No.
Reconvening the Board of Agriculture for July 25th, 2023. We have exited executive session. We're back in our regular meeting. The item on the agenda is was to consult with our attorney, the board's attorney, regarding a petition for a declaratory ruling regarding Hawaii Revised Statutes, sections 147-75. Members have discussed this matter, consulted with our attorney, and we would like to share with the public our thoughts on this, and then we'll take a motion on the matter. First or second? Okay, members, I'll entertain a motion to that I'm going to ask our board attorney to read Shall we have a motion first and second without hearing it?
No, so I'll read it.
Okay. So our attorney will read our proposed motion.
So, at the board's discretion, they may make a motion to decline to respond to the declaratory petition because the matter is currently in litigation and the dispute does not appear to be based primarily upon the Hawaii Department of Agriculture's rules or statutes. Any party may raise this issue again after the litigation is complete.
Members, may I have a motion to that is consistent with that statement of your thoughts?
So move per our AG, Brian Cow.
Is there a second? Okay, hearing a motion and a second. Are there any objections?
Do you want to get comments
Comments?
from the just that the board wants to say?
Are there any members of the board that want to make a comment before we proceed to a vote on the motion? Is there a member of the public that wants to make a comment?
Okay, got it.
May I make a comment, please?
You may.
Joseph Ryan. I'm representing Kelly Tomioka. I am her attorney. For information, Ms. Tomioka is present in the boardroom. I want to comment that the underlying litigation does not involve the state of Hawaii or the city and county of Hawaii at all. What it does involve is the Right to Farm Act. And that's a very important act for farming and agriculture. What it says is no court can declare farming operation a nuisance. The problem therein is a farming operation is defined in the statute as a commercial agricultural pursuit. And therein lies the problem. The people that are suing have alleged that because Ms. Tomioka does not grade her eggs as required as a retailer under 14771, she is selling to a consumer illegally. Therefore, she is not commercial. That is the basis of the lawsuit out there. What the board, what the Department of Agriculture has done, has published a couple of brochures. And those brochures apply to sale of eggs at retail. Because of those brochures, which are being introduced as evidence in the case, there is a very good likelihood that this farming operation is likely to be declared a nuisance. And Ms. Tomioka will suffer penalties because of the way the legislature wrote the laws back in 1983. They did not define. Let me go, before I say that, let me refer you to 147-1, which applies to nuts and fruits and vegetables. In 147-1, a producer is identified and defined. In 147-71, the chicken egg statutes, producer was not defined. Because of that conflict caused by the legislature in 1983, statutes and rules that apply only to retailers are being applied to this producer of chicken eggs. And I would certainly hope that the board would vote against the motion that's on the table and state that a producer of eggs is not a retailer of eggs. And 14775 does not require a producer to label size or grade for eggs, and therefore does not have to comply with 14776 or 77 related to advertising something else. I don't think the board should avoid the power and duty because of a non-existent threat that they're somehow going to influence a court or become involved in a court case. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Members, any questions for Mr. Ryan? I see Vince. Go ahead, Vince.
You're muted, Vince.
Oh. Vince, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I would like, thank you, Chair. I would like to ask a question of Mrs. Tomioka.
You'd be willing to answer.
Are you willing to answer, Miss? Please come forward, state your name.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Ms. Tomioka,
Good morning.
thank you for coming up. What's more important to you, being right or being in relationship? Because it sounds to me as though the neighbor here is more bothered with the noise of the roosters as opposed to your chicken production, or where you're selling it. Using this as a reason to, basically get by what the real issue is from my point of view. And it's like, have you given eggs to your neighbor? Do you have any kind of relationship with your neighbor and talking to them in any way? Because it seems like that would like mitigate a lot of this. I deal with that personally. I know what it is. I know how important it is to ho'omali our neighbors in our farming operation. So I'm just, kind of cutting to the chase here to save you a lot of, seems like, back and forth to be right, as opposed to just being in a relationship.
Thank you, Member Mina. Are there any other comments or questions for Ms. Tomioka?
May I respond to that?
You want me to answer?
I can answer.
Go ahead.
Do you want to answer, Ms.
Yes.
Tomioka? Yes, go ahead.
I'm all about community. I'm not about being right. I'm about being in good standing, both with my community, my neighbors, and the laws and rules that apply to me. In good faith, I have rehomed all but a couple of my roosters. We have done several different attempts at my property to alleviate whatever nuisance the neighbors find. Apparently, those were not acceptable enough, and they wanted me to end my production altogether, which supplies an income for my family, and it also supplies commerce to my community, which I support local farming, and I support us being self-sustainable. And so, yes, I have tried to work out amenable solutions to this. The last thing I wanted to do was go to court.
I understand.
And it hurts my heart that we're here.
I understand. And wasn't there a statement made that they don't want to put you out of business?
Vince, I think this is going beyond discussion of the petition before us.
Okay, well, I just trying to keep it out of, keep it where it's.
I think we do understand your comments on this. Ms. Tomio, thank you for your.
Thank you for your time.
comments.
Thank you, members.
Any other members want to comment before we move to a vote on the motion on the table? Seeing none, are there any objections to the motion? Okay, I want it recorded. Oh, we'll do a roll call vote because there is one objection.
We're we're going to excuse ourselves from this evening.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna, when I call your name, please indicate your vote on the motion. Russell Suji,
I vote in favor of the motion.
okay, Diane Lay,
Aye.
Vince Mina,
Aye.
Fred Cowell,
Aye.
Ann Young,
Yes.
James Gomes,
Aye.
and the chair votes nay. All right, thank you. The ayes
Your
have it.
Honor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your
Ina.
Honor.
And I vote
Kīnānā.
aye.
Okay, so there are 7 ayes and 1 nay. So the ayes have it, the motion passes. Thank you all for your, thank you for your comments, and I appreciate it very much. There is no, our agenda shows, we're at the end of our agenda. There's no new business. We'll defer the chair's report till the next meeting when she returns. And so is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Thank you, Jimmy. Second? Second.
Chair, excuse me, I'm sorry. I was muted. I have a question for Brian before we adjourn about old business.
Which item on the agenda are you?
Well, it's not on
addressing?
this agenda, it's on a past agenda.
I think that's out of order, Vince, but I'll,
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
okay, Brian's gonna allow that. Go ahead.
Brian, I just saw a news report about Wolbachia and the mosquitoes that we approved through the board. And I'm just wondering, you know, there's community problems arising from this. Have there's been anything directed to the board?
I think what I can do is I can talk to Sharon and put it as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Okay, because there's people want to know more about it, and there were some protests that happened in Hana, and I just want to make sure that people's concerns are addressed accordingly, because it seems like they're feeling like the native birds are kind of a scapegoat to the release of these mosquitoes happening. So I just want to.
This is a multi-agency matter. So it's not just the Department of Agriculture. I'll talk to Sharon about it. There is some litigation as well that we'll have to consider. But if we don't put it on the agenda, what I can do is explain why.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate
we'll
it.
either put it on or explain why not.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Member Mina. If there are no further comments, no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Aloha, have a great day.
Take care, everybody. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.